Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. What did Ole Gunnar Solskjaer get wrong against Watford? A great man once sang repetitively, "Are you hanging your stocking on the wall?" And I tell you what, I am hanging my stocking on the wall tomorrow night because I want a new Manchester United football club from top to bottom. Owners, chief executive, coaching staff, players, the whole lot. And I tell you what, there's no amount of quality street that's going to make me feel better this morning. But let's have a look at what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got wrong, because I've listened to what he said after the game as well, and he came out with things that I think are tired now. And I think fans are becoming tired with this. I've seen a lot of reaction on social media and on some of the forums as well. And Ole after the game yesterday saying that we're definitely working well on the rebuild. We're working towards something. And I think this is a tired excuse now. I think fans were sort of going with it to a certain extent, but I think now it's just tired. Oh, we're working towards something. We're confident in the rebuild. Like, you make it sound like United are starting from scratch. Mourinho, we were a little bit off top four, and he deserved the sack. We weren't in the relegation zone under Mourinho, and yet with Ole, we've now gone backwards to being a mid-table club, and he's talking about rebuilds and things like that were never this severe. So I would agree. I'm one of those fans that are tired with that as well. He also talked about Manchester United's slow play yesterday, and he also spoke about the importance of Paul Pogba. Well, look, the slow play is not something that's new with United. It keeps happening time and time again. We are a slow footballing side, and that comes from the coaching. That's where it comes from. And also, I think that one of the first things I want to say that he got wrong yesterday was the same thing that he keeps getting wrong, that midfield. The reason Manchester United are a slow side is because the midfield has got no creativity in it. And I saw Ricky's fan cam last night saying that Fred's not good enough. I don't necessarily agree with that, but what I do agree with is that Fred is a grafter. He hasn't really got any creativity. McTominay is the same. He's got no creativity. And Jesse Lingard's got no creativity. So if you've got a midfield three with no creativity, you're going to get slow play. And I've heard Ole say this after a few games now. Oh, we just weren't at the races. We were really slow and lethargic in the first half. But I can see it. You can see it. Everybody can see it, but Ole seems to think it's something to do with the players going out there and deciding that today they're going to play slowly. They play slowly because they haven't got players who can unlock teams. So this is why you get this repetitive side-to-side football and backward football that we see, because Fred, McTominay and Lingard aren't creative. So they can't link the defence with the attack, and they can't move the ball quick enough. So there's a few things that Ole keeps saying that actually are on him, that he tries to make out that, oh, it's just one of those days. We're going to have these days. And he said about Pogba coming on. Look, Pogba was the positive yesterday, and Pogba is an amazing talent, and he will help us out. But he's not going to be able to do it all on his own, and it's ridiculous that we're so reliable on that. But it is something, if you go back to August, I said Paul Pogba's got Manchester United's season in his hand. If he doesn't have a good season, we won't. And he hasn't had a bad season. He's just been injured for most of it. So Pogba being back and standing out, as I gave him man of the match yesterday, isn't a surprise to me, because Pogba has got creativity in him, and he's the only one that has. What will happen is oppositions, when Pogba comes back, will just swamp Pogba like teams did last season. And if you swamp him, there's no creativity for United. But yesterday, look, half an hour to go, Watford are 2-0 up. They're on easy street, they drop off a little bit, and they give us a bit of space. That's why we were a little bit better. That's why Martial got a little bit better. But I want to say where it got it wrong. For me, the big thing that went wrong yesterday is the formation. The 4-2-3-1 has got to stop. We've tried 3 at the back this season. That was a disaster. We've obsessed with 4-2-3-1 this season. It doesn't work. And I've got to say it's wrong. And it needs to be mentioned in this show, because 4-2-3-1 is wrong for Manchester United. 4-2-3-1 means that the number 10 is absolutely intrinsic to that team being successful. They sit in the middle of two CDMs, 2 wide players and a forward. They're the centre of the pentagon. There's 5 players around them in a pentagon shape. We've got no number 10, yet we play with a system that is totally reliant on a number 10. And whether it's Mata or it's Pereira or Lingard, they're not good enough. So we end up with not the mint with a hole, the pentagon with a hole. There's nothing in there to do it. And if you've got nothing in the middle, you've got to go round it, which makes it a lot harder and a lot longer to get to goal. So this formation doesn't work. And what I want to see against Newcastle, now that we've got Pogba back, Can we just go to one sitting midfielder and have 2 box-to-box like we did in Ollie's first 3 months and forget having a number 10? We don't have a number 10 when we play with one, so let's go to a system where we can have more players where there isn't a number 10. And I'd go back to the 4-3-3 with the one holding midfielder. So that is a big problem. The other problem is Dan James was awful yesterday. Dan James should not have started the game. That's another thing that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got wrong. Greenwood should have started the game. Dan James didn't play very well. We know Dan James works hard and we know that he's fast, but we've already got players that work hard and run around a lot, like Jesse Lingard. We need something a little bit more, and Mason Greenwood was undroppable for that game against Watford and yet was still dropped. But to enhance what I'm talking about, the right-hand side of our pitch yesterday was dead. It was absolutely dead. Look in the second half. Martial, Shaw and Pogba did really well in the last half an hour. Look in the first half. It was all going down the left-hand side. Luke Shaw put 2 wonderful crosses in across the 90 minutes and people in the box just weren't anticipating them. But nothing came from the right-hand side. It was dead. It was so dead that Watford were double upping on Wan-Bissaka, and he actually had quite a hard game yesterday. Delafeu was arguably one of Watford's best players. He was playing directly up against Wan-Bissaka. So the right-hand side for United was absolutely dead. We were so lopsided, and that was something that Solskjaer got wrong because the right-hand side just didn't work, along with the midfield. And that allowed Manchester United to be very static, but also forced up one side of the pitch. And Watford did a very good job at stopping us. And every time Rashford got the ball, you could see an energy from Watford midfielders to get back and make sure that he didn't end up with these one-on-one situations that Rashford's worked really, really well in so far. 7 is quite a big number for Manchester United at the moment. I'm just going to jump in here and say this is ridiculous. I saw a stat yesterday that if you take penalties off United, Solskjaer's win percentage is 7%. But penalties that United have scored are valid. Penalties are part of games, and all of those penalties were penalties. So the 7% win percentage without penalties is irrelevant because penalties are part of football. So I don't agree with that. I think that's a little bit unfair. But ultimately, I think that Manchester United. What I want to say is that where we're getting it wrong as well. I think the centre-back partnership doesn't work. Now, I personally think that over the last few weeks that Lindelof has been the better centre-back. I think Maguire, for an £80 million player, who I actually wonder where the mainstream media and ex-United Manchester United players pundits agenda against Harry Maguire is, because Harry Maguire virtually cost us the same amount of money as Paul Pogba, and they never shut up about Paul Pogba. But Harry Maguire, I hear nothing about how poor he's been, and I don't think he's been poor per se, but I think, as we always hear from United fans, well, yeah, Pogba might be as bad as a Fred or anyone else, but Pogba is an £89 million player. Well, Harry Maguire is an £80 million player. Are we not holding him to the same standards as Paul Pogba? They virtually cost the same amount of money. And I'm not saying that Maguire's been bad, but Pogba's never really been bad consistently. He's been up and down. I think Harry Maguire's up and down, but nobody's saying anything about it because he's English and he's part of the gang and we'll leave him all alone. But I don't think Harry Maguire at this stage is really giving us value for money. I think he's doing okay. I certainly don't think he's a flop, but there was a header yesterday, he should have buried it, and he looks all over the place, and I don't think the partnership of Lindelof and Harry Maguire actually works. So I think that is something that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer needs to look at very quickly, because there doesn't seem to be confidence between the two in their partnership, and Troy Deeney definitely played off that yesterday. I think that with regards to the team, there is a real issue with regards to the mentality of the players. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was, at odds to say that complacency is an issue. And as I said, we dwell around this, time, we're rebuilding, we're on the right track. We're not on the right track. It's the worst start we've ever had in a Premier League season. It's the longest run of games we've been without a clean sheet since 1971. I think since PSG... in the league, we've played 27 games in the league, something like that, and we're averaging just over 1 point a game. It's shambolic. It's absolutely shambolic, and I feel that expectations are being lowered more and more and more. And you know what? I said this yesterday, so I'll say it again. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would have been sacked by any club by now. Manchester United aren't going to sack him, and I'm not going to start shouting Ole out, because there is a responsibility of a fan channel that's rather big to stop, to not push that sort of agenda when it's not going to happen. But he's not going to get the sack. but he would have been sacked by any club by now because it's shambolic. It is a shambles. He's lost at home to Palace, he's lost to West Ham, he's lost to Newcastle, he's lost to Bournemouth, he's now lost to Watford, he's drawn with Everton, he's drawn with Villa, he's drawn with Southampton. He has dropped a massive amount of points in the space of 4 months, and it's not good enough. It's not good enough at all, and it reflects badly on him and his coaching staff, who, to me, as I've said, they look like a gang of work experience people. They don't look like they know what they're doing, and this is becoming more and more prevalent in what's being said in press conferences and the attitude after bad results. It's almost like, well, I don't get too down when we lose and I don't get too happy when we win. This is not the mentality of Manchester United Football Club. We shouldn't be getting used to losing games. We shouldn't be going into games saying, well, it's a thin line between winning and losing. We're a winning football club. We should have a winning mentality. And what we have now, and what Ollie got wrong majorly in this Watford game, was that before the game, he did an interview with Sky and he said, expect more results like inconsistent results. It's going to take time and all this. And it just has allowed our players who were already untrustworthy to become even more untrustworthy and lazy. I said this before Ollie came in. I don't trust this team. They've let us down under Van Gaal. They've let us down under Mourinho. And they're now doing it again. You cannot trust these players. They are not trustworthy. On their day, they can beat anyone. But consistently, they will drop points against teams where you expect them to do well. They are untrustworthy. They are lazy. And they have a weak mentality. And, maybe, I know, some will be watching. And I'm sorry, I wish you weren't. I think everybody wants to get behind you and everybody wants you to be successful. But you're not good enough. And being good enough is not just about having talent. A lot of football is the mental side of the game, your strength, your inner belief, your inner desire, and your tenacity and your willpower to be the best. And United are severely lacking in that. And when I look at players yesterday, and I will name names, Marcus Rashford's been on fire recently. Where did he go against Watford? McTominay's been brilliant lately. And I'm not saying they're not trying. I think this is where people get it wrong. These players aren't lazy because they're not trying. They are definitely trying. They are definitely trying their best, but they are weak mentally in relation to the winning psyche that is required for a Manchester United player, and they can be got at. And the thing is, they get got at by teams that they should be beating comfortably. Watford wanted it more than Manchester United, and this is a recurring theme. We've seen it over the years. I mean, it's not, we lost to Newcastle a couple of years ago, Huddersfield a couple of years ago, Cardiff at the end of last season, Everton destroyed us 4-0. There's so many bad results over the last 3 to 4 years, and all of them are very similar. The opposition want it more than us. We are weak. We don't have leaders. And this is a massive problem. And yet Ole Gunnar Solskjaer keeps believing in these players, keeps saying everything's going to be fine, keeps saying we're on a rebuild. I don't see it. And what he got wrong as well yesterday was this future talk, right? Well, what was the future talk yesterday? Where was Brandon Williams? Where was Axel Tuanzebe? Where was James Garner? Where was Tahith Chong? Where was Angel Gomez? Where was Mason Greenwood? He was on the bench. So the team that he put out yesterday and the bench that he had yesterday with the likes of Matic and Mata and Young, who, look, to be honest with you, they're going on a saga holiday in the next couple of years, they're so old. And the team that started, like, there's not a lot of growth in that team in relation to, we're suddenly going to be leaders. I think one or two of them might become more leadership orientated, but Harry Maguire's not. I don't think Wan-Bissaka's ever going to be a leader. Lindelof's not going to become any more of a leader. Luke Shaw's not going to become any more of a leader. De Gea's not going to become any more of a leader. Fred's not going to become any more of a leader. McTominay will. Dan James, probably not going to be a leader. You can sort of tell by his sort of personality. Rashford, I don't think is going to be a leader. And Martial's not going to be a leader. So that team isn't going to become stronger. You've got to acquire players to make it stronger. And I didn't see much of that yesterday. I thought it was more of the same. So, I'm very disappointed. I don't want to move on from my disappointments, if I'm honest with you, although we all will do. But it's difficult. It's really difficult. I am one of those fans who say I will not let my expectations get lowered, and I firmly stick behind that. But I see it. This is the worst start to a Premier League season we've had. Watford, I don't think, have won all season at home, and they comfortably beat us. The warning signs are not warning signs, they're facts. We are massively, massively underachieving. We are definitely a mid-table club. and we are awful, and it's a shambles. And yet we just seem to be lurching towards what? What are we lurching towards? Do you think this transfer window in January is going to solve our problems for February, March, April and May? I think we might buy a striker, but what will that do to solve the problems that Manchester United have? It's worrying, but it's been worrying for a while. I don't believe Solskjaer is the right man. I think he may become the right man, but as of the moment, he looks to me like somebody who is out of his depth, and he's got to change that. It all appears too nicey-nicey, and I know that might not be the case behind the scenes, but the public perception is that it's that, and I would change that if I was him. I think there needs to be more of a demand. There needs to be more anger, and you know, nice people don't necessarily succeed. I mean, I look at Solskjaer after interviews now, and I think, do I ever see him holding up trophies for Manchester United? And at the moment, I just don't. I think he comes across as a nice guy, but a guy that's not going to go home with the prom queen. So, you know, I think Ollie got a lot wrong yesterday. Anyway, smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're back live again at 8 o'clock tonight. But yeah, Ollie got a lot of things wrong yesterday. A lot of things wrong.